Hey guys, it's Miss Brockman. Let me scroll up here and show you what our goal is for today. It says, I can ask and answer questions before, during, and after I read. You might be thinking, Miss Brockman, why do we have to ask so many questions? You're the teacher. Shouldn't you be asking me the questions? No. We've learned about our superpower of our thinking voice. And our thinking voice is something that we can use to learn more about our text, what we're reading about. So I got this short video. It's about 2 minutes long, and then we're going to go over it. Please use your thinking voice while we're listening to this.
Asking and answering questions. When we read, we ask and answer questions about the text. This helps us become better readers because it makes us think about what we're reading. Questions are sentences that ask for information. Many questions start with who, what, when, where, why, or how.
Can you think of a question that you've ever asked that starts with who? You might have asked someone you know, who is that? What about where? You might say, where are we going? You might ask your teacher that all the time. Or you might say, what are we doing next? Or you might have even said, why are we doing this? Or how do I do this? You ask questions all the time, and questions help us find out more. Questions help us find out more information.
Questions end with a question mark.
Can you make a question mark in the air for me? Draw it in the air. Good job.
When you read a book, you can think of questions before you read, while you read, and after you read.
This is important.
Before you read, you might wonder questions like, who will be in this story? Or, what will happen? While you read, you might wonder questions like, why did that happen? Or, what will happen next? After you read, you might wonder questions like, how are the characters feeling? Or, what would happen if the story continued? When you are finished reading, you should be able to answer questions about what you read. Some questions you might answer could be, who were the characters in the story? Where and when did the story take place? And what happened in the beginning, middle, and end of the story?
Let's think about a story that we know really well. Let's think about The Three Little Pigs. Can you use your thinking voice to think of the characters in that story? Yeah. What about what happened at the beginning? And then the middle? And then the end, right? And you know that those piggies, they were feeling scared, but then at the end when they were in that big brick house, they were feeling pretty brave. So we ask questions all the time, and most of the time, after we're done reading the story, we've got all the answers in our pocket.
Sometimes you'll need to look back in the story to find the answers. If you ask and answer questions before, during, and after you read, you will become a great reader. Thanks for watching.
Okay, guys, so let's go over that just a little bit. So here's what we learned. We learned that to become better readers, we need to know how to ask questions. But why and when? Well, asking questions, like I've been telling you, helps us understand. We have to ask questions before we read in our mind. We have to ask questions during or while we're reading in our mind. And then after we read, we need to be able to answer those questions. But you know what? We might have some more questions after that. And that's good. The more questions you have while you're reading and before you're reading and after you're reading, the more you're thinking about the text or the book or the story that you're reading. And that means the smarter you are. Isn't that weird? The more questions you ask, the more things you don't know, and the more things you find out, the smarter you are. Isn't that awesome? Okay, so answering those questions. In second grade, we're going to have to go back in the text and find our answers. You see those two little eyeballs on the screen? Those eyeballs symbolize looking. And we're going to look back in the book. All right? And usually, looking back in the book, you might do that during reading or even after reading. All right. Here are the question words. I like this girl going, huh? I don't even know. I don't know what I read. Have you ever done that? Have you ever stopped the story and went like, what did I just read? I have no idea what I'm reading. Sometimes you have to read it again. But sometimes you can ask yourselves these questions and then poof, you remember what the story is about. So who, how, when, what, why, and where. Some people say them in different order. Who, what, when, where, why, how. That's how I do it. Okay, so you are going to be reading this text, but don't look at the words yet. Don't read the words. Cover them up with your hands. Block the words. I want you to look at the title. The title at the top is the big, bold letters. It says Katie's Secret. So don't look at anything else. You're staring at the title. Are you looking at it? Katie's Secret. You might be asking yourself two questions right now. Who is Katie? Didn't that start with a question word? Who? Here's the next question I have. And what is her secret? Did that start with a question word? You bet. Now, the next thing we can look at is the picture. I hope you're not reading any of the words yet. That's cheating. So look at the picture. Do you think that's Katie? Maybe that's Katie. So you might think, who is that chick? Or what is she doing? Or what is she holding? Or why is she wearing boots? All right. So we've went through the questions together. Do you think we just asked questions before we read, during our reading, or after? You're right. We ask those questions before we even read because it's important to ask questions before, right? So, what question do you might have about this so far? Are they different than mine? Your teacher can pause the video right now and you can maybe share a question that you have that's different than mine. Okie dokie. So for your assignment, all you're going to do is you're going to pull up this slide. You're going to read about Katie. You're going to read all these words the best you can. And if you get to one that you don't know, for example, this word right here says infant. Maybe you don't know that word. I just want you to sound it out and try your best and think, what does that make sense? What makes sense here? Does that even make sense? And then if you don't know, maybe ask your teacher and they will explain it to you. All right. So after you read the passage, you are going to answer some questions. And I bet those words that you have during this story, during this little passage, those are your questions during. And I bet they start with, what does this mean? Or why would she do that? Pay attention to what your brain is asking you throughout when you're reading, because I bet they start with question words, and that's good because remember, the more questions you ask, the smarter you're going to be. And after the reading, you are going to answer these questions. You might do this as a class, or you might do this by yourself. And you see where it says type here? So you're going to click on that. You're going to backspace those little letters, and then you're going to type your answer. Don't type all that goobly gosh like I did. You'll actually answer the question. All right? So I'll go ahead and read the questions to you. Who's the main character and what does she do? So you might say, the main character is blah, 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 and she does blah, blah, blah. And then why is Katie so excited? So you're going to be looking at why she's excited. My prediction is that it's because she has a secret. How does the character help the zoo? So how does Katie help the zoo? You're going to type your question there. And then what does Katie do in the story? Okay? So good luck. Have fun with this. Happy typing. And remember, the more questions you ask, the smarter you're going to be about what you read. Remember, by the end of this, you're going to be able to ask and answer questions before, during, and after you read. Every time you read, not just this time, but this time is practice. So pay attention to the question words that pop up in your head. Good luck.